Hi, family. Welcome to yet another episode of Dawn of Faith. If you're new here, kindly subscribe. Today's episode is coming from two books, Second Kings and John chapter 5. Now, the title of this episode, I've been trying to look for a more appropriate title, but I think the one that could befit this episode, I Know a Man. And now, this comes from Second Kings chapter 6, and the verse is 19. So the background of the story is the Syrian army had surrounded Israel, and they have been trying to conquer Israel, but their plans were unfolding, and somehow the king of Israel used to know beforehand. And so they were inquiring, who is this man that tells him of their plans beforehand? And someone hinted that there's a man called Elisha. And so the story proceeds on. They went to the king, and the king directed them to Elisha. And now when they came to Elisha, they asked him, show us this man. But Elisha responded and said, this is not the way, this is not the city. Follow me, and I will bring you to the man whom you seek. Okay? Now, so they were looking for Elisha, but Elisha answered them and told them, I am not the man. And so the question comes, who is the man? Okay? So just from a brief story comes the title, I Know a Man. And now our story comes, now our episode proceeds to John chapter 5. Now, John chapter 5, it's a very common story that we are all aware of. So there's this man that lays by the pool called Bethesda, which was by the sheep market. So it was just around the temple, almost around the temple. And there lay a great multitude. So there were guys with several problems, okay? And now, so Christ comes to this pool, and among this pool, he sees so many people with so many issues. But there's a case that interests him. There's a man who's lied here for 38 years. And so the legend goes and says that there was sometimes when an angel will come down and trouble the water in the pool. Okay? So the man Jesus comes to see a man, a very interesting case, a man who laid here for 38 years. And now Jesus asks him a very simple question. So John chapter 5, verse 6. When Jesus saw him lie and knew that he had been now a long time in that case, he said unto him, wilt thou be made whole? Okay? Now, picture this. Try to apply this story to your life. You might have been struggling with so many problems. Maybe you're fighting addiction. Maybe you've wandered far away from God. Maybe there's just a secret sin that I know right now there's something running in your mind. There's something you're fighting for. And so it's been a long time. Maybe for this man, it was 38 years. Maybe for you, it's been 2 months. Maybe it's been 2 years. Maybe it's been 10 years. It doesn't matter. The only thing that cuts across is you need to be made whole. And so Christ asks you today, will thou be made whole? Now look at the response that the man gave. The impotent man answered him, Sir, I have no man. Now, this is a very sad statement. Actually, in this chapter is among the saddest statement to have been uttered. I have no man. Now, do you mean to tell me that there are no pastors in your area? Do you mean to tell me there are no friends who can care for you? Do you mean to tell me that everyone in your life has forsaken you? Do you mean to tell me that there is no God in heaven who cares for you? That man Jesus cares for you. And so you might have been struggling with different problems, trauma, you're struggling with finding a purpose, you're struggling with all manner of diseases. Maybe you've had cancer. Maybe you are fighting sexual addiction. Maybe you're fighting so many problems. And so you've had a longing to be at one point in your life that you'll stand whole and you'll be counted as one who is worthy. And so, but deep down, you've come to the conclusion that you've tried your pastors, you've tried your medical practitioners, you've tried your friends, you've tried going to counseling sessions, but all these guys, at some point, it has not worked, or maybe your friends have abandoned you. Maybe your pastors are tired of you coming every day and saying, oh, please pray for me. Oh, please pray for me. I need a job. Please pray for me. I need this, and that. Maybe your friends are tired of you begging for every day for money. Maybe your practitioners, they're just saying that, you are a forgone case. You are a forgone case. Your physicians have written you off. People in the society have written you off. And so, you've come to the conclusion that there's no help. There's no one who cares. You have no man. But I want to tell you today, you are not helpless. There's still some hope. And so Christ looks at this case. Christ looks at you today. Christ is longing for you to invite him in your heart. Christ is longing for you to say, I have a man. Because the Bible says we do not have a high priest who cannot empathize and sympathize with our infirmities. He was tempted just as we are. So Christ understands when you say you are sick. Christ understands when you say you are broke. Christ understands when you say you have no friend, because at Christ at the cross, everyone abandoned him. And so even you, maybe people have abandoned you. People have written you off. People that are seeing you as a bother. Christ understood all these things. He went through these things and he experienced a much worse life than maybe some of us. And so he understands when you say you have no one. But today he's telling you, you do not need to say you have no one. And so, when he comes to you, Christ told this man, rise, in verse 8, rise, take up thy bed and walk. And so today, Christ wants to come in your life. Christ wants to change your sin. Christ wants to cleanse you. Christ wants to give you hope. And today he's asking you that do not say you have no man. Say that you have him. Now there's another story that I didn't explain fully. For instance, there's this belief that there was an angel who used to trouble this pool at some time. Now, I want you to engage your reasoning. Okay? Now this verse did not exist. Like in earlier manuscript up to 5th century, there was no portion of this angel troubling waters. So it was added later on the around 5th century and above. Those are the only manuscripts that contains this verse. But even that, I want you to try to imagine. So this pool, for you to be able to get whole, you had to be physically strong. You had to be fit. You had to have some things. You had to have friends to help you. Do you need to tell me that salvation, you need to have some things, some advantages? For instance, if you look at this case, you had to have some money, or you had to have some friends. You had to have people or you had to be strong. So it was like survival for the fittest. Do you need to tell me that for healing, you need to be better placed, or alternatively, for you to access God, you need to have friends, you need to have things to help you? I believe salvation is free to all and everyone can access it. And so I tend to think that this pool, it was just a legend. And I don't believe that there was an angel who was troubling the water. Because if that was the case, what Christ would have done, he would have taken this man and troubled the water and approved that this thing was actually working. If you see how Christ healed the lepers, he told them to go and present themselves before the high priest. And so Christ was using the established institution for him to do like some of his work. He used to respect the established institution. But in this here, he totally ignores this established institution, and he goes ahead and he goes ahead and restores this man to full health. And now there might have been places, for instance, you've heard of somewhere where there's holy water and you need to pay 10,000 for you to access the holy water. Or perhaps you've heard there's a handkerchief that needs 2,000. Or perhaps you've heard there's places like Lourdes, there's places like where there's pilgrimage, you need to go there, or you need to visit some place for you to access some certain healing. That is the same principle. But Christ tells us that there's going to come a time where you'll not need to worship in this mountain or on this other mountain, but you'll worship God in spirit and in truth. And so you don't need to go to special places. Christ is accessible to you right now, wherever you are, whether you're in a dingy place, whether you are in a mansion, whether you are in a country place or you are in town, Christ is still accessible to you right now. And so just today, I want to leave you with this, that I know a man and you have a man, and that man is man Jesus. He cares for you. He actually died for you. In fact, he says, I have loved you with an everlasting love. And may God bless you and may God keep you as you meditate upon this. But fun fact, you have a man, the man Jesus.